You ready? You're listening to the Real Pineapple Podcast Network. Ladies, gentlemen, ladies and gays, this is the Real Pineapple. This is your humble host Hunter here. Happy holidays to you. Hope you're all staying safe, having a great week or weekend whenever you're checking this out. Hope you've got your holiday cookies and your hot chocolate, your beer, your wine, whatever you like to drink. I hope you're all doing well. I have a review for a holiday classic. And yes, for the purposes of this review, it is a Christmas movie, goddammit. I'm reviewing Die Hard. Hell yeah, long overdue. Which, of course, is directed by John McTiernan. Okay. One thing I really like about... Let me backtrack a little bit. One thing I actually love about doing this podcast is I get to introduce my partner to stuff that she hasn't seen before. And when I was talking to her about, hey, I'm going to do 12 days of holiday reviews, and I threw out Die Hard, she was like, oh, I've never seen Die Hard. And I can't, I wish I was on camera so I could replicate my face, but I was like, what the fuck? How have you never seen Die Hard? And so we watched it yesterday, and I was so happy that she dug it. Means that we can stay together. But but also it's so cool to see someone watch a movie that you dig and then they dig it in real time. That's one of the things about film that I fucking love, and it really does make me happy. And so this is a movie I watch every holiday, but between lockdown a few years ago and everything, she just hadn't seen it. So I was really excited to show her this, and she dug it. So again, we can stay together. This film means so much to me as a nerd, just because this is one of those first movies I remember watching as a kid. I think I would have been like 5 the first time I saw this, because I saw Die Hard, Silence of the Lambs, and Terminator 2 Judgment Day, like all within, I want to say, like all within 18 months of each other. Like those 3 movies mean so much to me, and it was so mind-blowing to see what film can do. And going back and rewatching this, yes, I understand that, the films get less believable as they go on, but I fucks with Live Free or Die Hard. I think Live Free or Die Hard is actually underrated as hell, and Oliphant as a villain is perfect in that fucking movie. A Good Day to Die Hard is not good. There's no reason to watch it, but yeah, I mean, what do you say about a series of films where films 1 through 4 all fucking work? I mean, that's fucking rare, but this is still obviously the crown jewel. So jumping in here, Bruce Willis, of course, plays Detective John McClane. Bruce Willis from so much shit: Moonrise Kingdom, Pulp Fiction, Looper, of course, Die Hard. Oh my gosh, what Whole Nine Yards, an underrated as fuck comedy. If you have not seen, The Whole Nine Yards, don't watch the sequel. It's not great. But even stuff like Planet Terror or Grindhouse. I mean, Sin City. The motherfuckers made a lot of great shit. They just added, oh my god, they just added Moonlighting to Hulu, which, if you haven't seen Moonlighting, highly recommend you check that out as well. But I love the setup for this movie, that we have this New York cop coming to California, attempting to salvage his marriage to Holly Gennaro, who of course is played by Bonnie Bedelia. One thing I love about this movie, especially rewatching it in 2023, is the fact that watching it with my partner, we're both big fans of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Rest in peace, Andre Braugher, by the way. But she my partner we've seen so much of Brooklyn, and so for her to finally get so many of the Die Hard references that Jake is constantly making, uh, it made her laugh. Actually, made her like the movie more. She's like, "Oh, that's why this is okay. I got it." But John McClane comes to New York trying to go ahead and salvage his marriage, and he ends up getting in a limo with this limo driver. But he meets this limo driver Argyle, who's played by I'm gonna butcher this Devereaux White, who you know most likely from Places in My Heart or Places in the Heart, Trespass. I remember because I'm old, him on Head in the Class. That's where my brain automatically went. But I love the tone that the movie sets immediately. The fact that John knows that he fucked up. Like, he knows he fucked up. And the way that Argyle just breaks his ass down, like, oh, so what? You were based in New York. Your wife's out in California. What the fuck happened there? And the way he's able to connect the dots. I don't know if y'all take cabs or take Ubers often. I take Ubers quite a bit because I'm, usually going to see shit. But you have these conversations with your driver, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just want to do what I do, just sit there and just be like, shh. But I really dig the camaraderie that they have, even for this short amount of time. And for being a limo driver, he's fucking cool too. He even makes just ask John point blank, like, "Oh, where you staying tonight, champ?" And McClane's not really sure because things aren't super solidified with him and his wife at the current moment. So, he tells him like, "Hey man, I'll go ahead and I'll loop around. I'll hang out. Give me a call. Let me know what you want to do." Like, that's a great limo driver. Like, he really does give a shit in a way that I was like, that's really fucking cool. I appreciate that they're showing that there's camaraderie between the two of them. So of course McClane goes ahead and goes to the front desk to go ahead and figure out where the hell he's supposed to go. And this is where the movie again continues to really set such a solid foundation, where he goes ahead and he looks for Holly McClane in the directory, because that's what the person tells him. Just type in the person in the directory, boom, it'll tell you where to go. And so he searches for Holly McClane, doesn't see her name. And that's how John figures out that she's gone back to her maiden name. And you're just like, oh, that's fucking brutal. And it's these little things that you see that just setting the foundation, setting the table for the wonderful buffet of violence that we are going to go ahead and behold. So that is one thing I will say too. This movie came out in '88, so a year after I was born. Oh God, I'm old. But what I appreciate about this is how unabashedly 80s it is. There's a point where you see people are doing coke like they're in WWF. Like it's crazy the amount of coke that you see. It's done so leisurely too, which was the other thing. I was like, oh, that's, yeah, I mean, 80s, that makes sense. But also the scale of Nakatomi Plaza is something that even for the 80s, I think they do a really great job of scaling. And I love a good bottle film where it's just one location. And yeah, I mean, you see like a gas station and outside the plaza and a few other things, but it really is condensed to this one space, and it really makes it feel, and I mean this is a compliment, like a video game. It's very similar to those Mortal Kombat games where you have to go up the tower. Like I literally and figuratively, I absolutely love the way that they set the table. So of course we have our terrorists, who are led by, rest in peace King, the brilliant, and I mean the brilliant, Alan Rickman. So here's the thing about Alan Rickman, and I was talking about this with my my cinema nerd friends. You could really argue that between this, Dogma, the Harry Potters, and Galaxy Quest, Rickman, I mean, that should be 2 Oscar nominations minimum. because I don't know if y'all have watched Dogma recently. He's the best thing about Dogma. He's fucking incredible in Dogma. So are Affleck and Damon too. Like, they're amazing in that shit. Galaxy Quest, he flat out steals the movie. I know that, you know, it's Tim Allen's movie. It's not. It's Alan Rickman's movie. And in here, what I love about the juxtaposition between Hans and John is that it's all done over radio, and the actual intensity of this, the way that they flat out shoot someone point blank within about a minute of being from the plaza, you're like, wow, okay, that's really fucked up. Like, but again, it shows that no one is safe, which is something I love, that they went ahead and established that boundary from jump. But it really does also put in the fact, it really establishes the fact that no one is safe as far as these hostages are concerned, which is really what terrorists should do. You should never feel safe in the room with terrorists. And something that I really dig, and they do this pretty early on, is the way they set up the pieces on the chessboard. You get John inside the plaza at the party, and to backtrack a little bit, I really love the argument that him and Holly have, because it's very much a argument you would have with someone that you're trying to go ahead and work through shit with. And the thing is, Holly's not wrong. And John even acknowledges as much later on in the film, that he should have been more supportive, that one of the lines of the movie, and maybe the best delivered line in the whole film, is when John goes, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, but he goes, I would always tell her that I was sorry, but I never told her I loved her. And you just go, huh. And that difference, and I think we all can acknowledge, like, if you see, you know, if a loved one passes, or a loved one of a friend or what have you, it's almost like a reset as far as how you approach your inner circle, you approach your friends, your colleagues, etc. And really early on, when the terrorists take over the plaza, the first thing that John does is really look to see where Holly is before he hides. And you just go, okay, that's his priority. She's his priority. And it really does, this whole situation acts as a priority reset for John and for Holly. And so it's a really fascinating character study between the two of them, as far as how they eventually get to some sort of reconciliation at the end of the film. I haven't mentioned him yet, and I need to, because he's fucking wonderful. I need to shout out Sergeant Al Powell, who's played by Reginald VelJohnson, who, of course, you know, most likely is Carl Winslow from Family Matters, but you also know him from Die Hard and Die Hard 2, because yes, he does show up in Die Hard 2, and it's fucking great. He's also in Ghostbusters, which is also wonderful. He's also on Invincible as Principal Winslow. Like, I heard his voice, I was like, oh my god, is that Reginald Van? Like, it's such a cool fucking cameo. And he's in a couple episodes, but between that, and people forget, he was on Heart of Dixie. He's great on Heart of Dixie. He's really great on there. But such a big fan of Reginald VelJohnson, and I love his arc in this movie so much, because you gotta rewind and think to the fact that this was 1988, and the fact that the reason why Sergeant Al Powell hasn't been using his gun is because he accidentally shot a kid because he thought he had a gun on him. The fact that's a plot line in 1988 and that's acknowledged is insane to me, and really progressive when you think about it, because considering that the Rodney King riots were right around the corner, to go ahead and actually paint a cop as making a mistake and having to try to atone for it, that's incredibly powerful. And I was really kind of taken back by that, because that's one of those details. I'm like, oh, that's right. That's what. Okay, and I love that detail. It's also very it's funny because he's at the gas station. He's getting snack cakes, Twinkies, something like that. It's something to snack on, but he gets like several of them, and he makes a comment of, these aren't all for me, these are for my wife, and the cashier's like, sure, buddy, she's pregnant. Yep, whatever you say, pal. And definitely, definitely some snark from the cashier, but we end up finding out that he actually has a wife at home who's about to give birth. So it's pretty wild that that while John is trying to save his marriage, that Sergeant Owl, he has his own shit that he's living for. And I really like the back and forth between Sergeant Powell and McClane, which I'll get to in a moment. But getting back to Hans Gruber, the thing about this movie that I do love, that I really do compare to A Good Day to Die Hard, is the terrorist plan and the way that everything is so well laid out as far as the end game, as far as where they're trying to go, and as far as realizing that, if we do this, they're going to bring in the FBI. If they go ahead and cut the power for the building, this will actually open up the vault. Like, the fact that they thought this far ahead, it's fucking brilliant. And so from, the terrorist perspective, like, are they terrible pieces of shit? Absolutely. But are they very clever, very well trained, very smart pieces of shit? Yeah, they absolutely are. And the way that they go ahead and go about all that as the film goes on, and again, watching this with my partner for the first time, it was really funny for her to go, wow, they're fucking brilliant. They thought this far ahead. And it's like, yeah, there are reasons why these protocols are in place, but when it's a protocol, people can figure out what these protocols are. And this is 1988, 2023. It's way easier because you can find fucking pretty much anything online these days. So so it adds to their credibility as far as how everything is played up. And I found it incredibly fascinating the way that their plan evolves. And as a viewer, you're just sitting there going, man, why are these cops doing this shit? It starts off with the fact that, there are the gunshots and everything. And so they send Sergeant Powell to go ahead and check it out. But this is only after a fire alarm has been pulled, which the cops respond to but basically ignore. But then John goes ahead and gets on a walkie-talkie and basically gets on a channel where he's able to go ahead and dispatch to 911, which, by the way, the woman who's handling his transmission is so goddamn rude and so dismissive. That would cost you your fucking job, considering what fucking goes down. But she's so flippant about, this is the holidays. This line is only for emergencies. And I love how John is like, does this sound like I'm ordering a fucking pizza? He's fucking mad, and he has every right to be as pissed off as he is, because there is this level, obviously, of things being ramped up and this level of uncertainty, and him just going, well, like, I need help. Can you get me in touch with someone who can fucking help me? And her being so flippant and so about it does not put nearly the amount of emphasis or, little kick in the giddy up, as it were. Doesn't put nearly as much fear and as much progression as there should be with this. So when Sergeant Owl does show up and and John very cleverly throws one of the terrorists' bodies just out the fucking window and it crashes through Sergeant Powell's car, through his windshield, that's when you go, oh, okay, this is a very serious fucking situation. And the way that Sergeant Powell drives his car backwards, fucking impressive, honestly. Like I was actually quite impressed. And another thing about this movie that I really love is that there's blood. there's actual blood. Like he crashes his car. It's not some, it's not like he doesn't have a scratch on him. He's actually banged up. Maybe a concussion, perhaps, but I really like the way that there's actual damage to go along with the consequences in this film, because that is a huge peeve of mine. I love Avengers, but it drives me nuts that Hawkeye goes through that window after using that last arrow he has and probably separating his shoulder, but he just goes through the window. No fucking cuts on his arm. Drives me nuts. Huge peeve of mine in films. I fucking hate when films do that shit. So one thing that I was just talking about was the violence, the fact that there are actual consequences for the violence. One thing I love, and I mean love, about this movie is, and Hans Gruber actually references it pretty early on, where he says, are you just an American who's seen one too many one too many John Wayne films? And I love their back and forth, because very similar to the limo driver, there is this, I don't want to say respect, but it's very much that irresistible force meets an immovable object between their wills, where Hans is trying to go ahead and get what he feels like he is owed, and John is trying to go ahead and protect the people in the tower because he's a cop and that's his natural instinct, because he's a good cop. It's such a fascinating, tug of war between their ideals and between their will. And the fact that Hans starts off so calm, cool, collected, clean ass fucking suits, like that is one thing I do appreciate too. And I haven't shouted him out yet, but Clarence Gilliard Jr., who plays Theo, who's the computer guy who unfortunately passed last year. Rest in peace, sir. You know him as Sundown from Top Gun. You most likely know him as James Trevette from Walker, Texas Ranger, which was on for 196 episodes. That is fucking wild. But the fact that everyone is dressed to the nine, like everyone's kind of dressed like you would see on an old school commercial flight, like the 50s or 60s. Like people were dressed like they got somewhere to go, and there's some style to all the villains, which I actually really appreciate. I was like, that's fucking cool. Like take some pride in your appearance. Go ahead. I mean, you're pieces of shit, but go ahead and don't kill people. But the way that John really does just break Hans down and makes it, I don't want to say personal. Well, I mean, he does make it personal because he starts killing his men. But the fact that the first guy he kills, and I don't have the terrorist names. Like, I know he has the list. Shoot me. I didn't write them down. But the first guy he kills, he goes ahead and sends him back down the elevator with a Santa hat drawn on that says, "Now I have a machine gun, ho ho ho." And it's that moment that Hans realizes, oh, this fucker is fucking with me, and he's an actual threat. And it's so fascinating the way that their rivalry goes ahead and breaks down. And I love the line that one of the henchmen throws, where Hans flat out goes, "We don't alter the plan, we stick to it." And the henchman retorts back, "What if he alters it for us?" And you just see for just a moment, just a slight moment, the doubt in Hans go, fuck, what if he does alter the plan? And he just moves past it. But you see that little hint of doubt, that little seed of doubt, goes ahead and begins to bloom as more men get taken out. And as he goes ahead and starts doing more and more to go ahead and just chop down this empire that they're trying to go ahead and build. It's fucking fascinating. One thing that I also just laughed really hard at is, it's 1988, of course, but gas being 78 cents a gallon in California, we'd love to have that now, wouldn't we? Like, holy shit. But I'm blanking on the guy's name. I think it's like Thomas or something like that. But there is this one guy who works at the plaza who is trying so hard to fuck Holly, and she is rightfully so not having any of it. One of her friends even goes like, "Oh, he's got his eye on you," and she goes, "Yeah, I have his eye on his like on his corner office." Like she only wants his office, rightfully so. The guy's a fucking scumbag, but one of the scenes that really does hit really hard for me, and it really speaks to the fact that there are levels to everything, because this guy is like, hey, like I know this guy, I know John is, he's fucking with your money. You can't have that. Would you, let me talk to him. I can get him for you. I'm a swindler. I'm a wise guy. All that, high, all that macho, I know better than you bullshit that he's trying to spin. And, very, very much a silver tongue on this guy. But the problem is he thinks that he's smart enough to outwit Hans, which he's not at all. And this is where, for me, I would say I think John becomes more of a three-dimensional character. Because, again, he is a cop. He wants to, do what's right, save people. But even this guy who's being a total piece of shit, a man that hits on his wife in front of him, he's still trying to save this guy. And he even tells Hans, like, dude, don't do anything to him. He doesn't know me. We're barely acquaintances. Like, don't hurt him. And this motherfucker will not take the goddamn hint. And he just keeps pushing, like, no, Hans and I, no, John and I are buddies, Hans. Like, and so when you don't see the death, and I actually think that's more effective, the fact that Hans just shoots him, and John has to hear the gunshot over the radio. It's sometimes, and I think for horror, this works really well. You don't always want to show the creature or the ghost or whatever. Your imagination sometimes will just fill in the blanks. And so I love the fact we don't see his death on camera. And it's one of those things I went, oh, this actually makes it more effective. Furthermore, with all this going on inside, you have the dick measuring contest going on the outside, because the cops show up. Sergeant Powell is immediately basically pushed aside by Paul Gleason. Rest in peace, sir. He you know him, of course, from Trading Places and Breakfast Club, most likely. He's also great in Not Another Teen Movie, reprising his role as Richard Vernon, which was such a cool fucking cameo. But he shows up as that, I'm in charge guy. Everyone needs to go ahead and get in line. And there's a point where John just loses his shit, and he's just like, dude, I don't want to talk to you. Shut the fuck up. You're not in charge. Let me talk to Sergeant Powell. And it's such a... So first off, his ego immediately takes over, because he's like, nope, it's my walkie-talkie. Fuck you. But I love that scene because it shows that John is very clearly in dire straits. And he's also fucking stressing. He's like, this is a tense fucking situation. It's the last thing that I prepared for. So stop being an asshole and let me try to figure this fucking out. It's such a cool subplot that's added on that just raises the tension. It was really funny when when my partner and I were watching this yesterday. Of course, you see John trying to get ready for the party, and that's when the shooting starts. So he doesn't have shoes on. And she was kind of making the point of, wait, he doesn't have shoes on. And they even make the point of showing him kill one of the terrorists, try to put their shoes on, and the shoes are too narrow. And of course, she sees later on, where Hans and henchmen shoot the glass, and John has to walk on all that glass and then go to the bathroom and, try to pull the glass out of his foot. And that's when we get the reveal of what happened with Sergeant Powell. I love that extra tidbit because it adds to the fact that you don't know what the fuck could happen. Like, it's just a huge ball of uncertainty that you're dealing with, and John is just being thrown these curveballs, and he's doing the best he can to go ahead and try to navigate everything. But not having shoes and stepping on glass, not only is that causing you fucking pain, but that's also giving away and leaving literal footprints as to where you are, which also puts you in danger. There, the sequence of the roof being blown up still holds up so well, for, for almost 40 years later, which is fucking nuts that we're heading up on the 40-year anniversary of fucking Die Hard. But that sequence when he jumps off the roof using the hose, great tension. The fact that the FBI were about to shoot his ass, great job, FBI. The fact he jumps off the roof, avoids getting shot, then has to parlay down, shoot out the window, and then swing into the office building again. But then, oh shit, the hose is still tied around his waist, so now that's acting as a weight. So he has to get that off. Like, it's such a great couple minutes of just fucking tension that rules, and it leads to such a perfect third act where, of course, I think most of y'all know, but I'll just say it here, where John goes ahead and kills Hans. That Alan Rickman was supposed to actually let go on. They were going to go 1, 2, 3, and then drop Alan Rickman, but they drop him on 2. So that look on his face where he's like, "Oh shit," that's genuine. That's a genuine reaction. I mean, as someone who hates heights, is that fucked up? Yeah, you told me you're going to go on 3. I mean, do I think that he could have gotten that reaction still? Yeah, because he's Alan fucking Rickman. But it does add to the authenticity of it that you let him go on 2, so he looked even more terrified. So, little column A, little column B. But, getting to my final thoughts here. Die Hard, A, it's a Christmas movie. Fuck you if you say it's not. But B, it's a classic. And it's one of those movies that, as I was sitting there rewatching it yesterday, it's like, I only took like 4 or 5 notes on it, because there was just a point I was sitting there watching it going, man, this kicks ass. And it still kicks ass all these years later. If for some reason you haven't seen Die Hard, it is well worth the. I'm sure you can buy the 4K for like $10 right now at this point. I'm sure it's on sale through like Prime Video or something. But definitely buy this if you haven't, because it rules and it's wonderful, and it's one of those things where. It's $12. It's $12.99 on Amazon right now, 4K. So yeah, buy that shit. If you haven't watched it, buy that shit. And seriously, buy it. It's wonderful. It rules. Fan-fucking-tastic. Like, I really do not have a complaint about this. And the redemption that Sergeant Powell gets at the end is just like the wonderful cherry on top. Such a cool fucking movie, and something that and I didn't even mention that Argyle fucking does his part and stops Theo from getting away later on in the film. Like, it's so well crafted. And while I understand that 2, 3, and 4 aren't as great as this, they're much closer than I think people give it credit for. But this was an absolute joy to rewatch. Long live Die Hard. Fucking great movie. Fucking great holiday movie, might I add. But Die Hard, what's your favorite of the... I mean, I'm sure you're going to all say Die Hard, but rank the Die Hard movies for me. That's what I'll ask. I mean, myself, I'd probably go... You know what? I haven't seen them in a while, but just off of memory, I'd probably go 1... I'd probably go 1... 3, 2, 4, and then 5, obviously. But again, I adore the first 4 regardless. So but yeah, people, rank the Die Hards. Let's hear your list. I'd be curious to get that. But Yeah, wherever you listen to the podcast, check us out. Please like, share, subscribe. It definitely helps us out. Please rate the show. It really helps with the algorithm. You can go ahead and find us on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneUp, and Samsung Podcasts, to name a few, at The Real Pineapple. Follow us on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube at The Real Pineapple. That's REEL Pineapple. You can go ahead and follow me on Blue Sky at realpineapple.bsky.social. Got a question for the show? Want to just say hi? Got a review request? Shoot me an email at jhunter@therealpineapple.com. Follow me on TikTok at jhunterrealpineapple. Follow me on Letterboxd at Black Shazam. And you can follow me on the Twitter at jhunterrealpineapple. Follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/jhunterrealpineapple. I'm going to be streaming here in the next couple weeks. I will keep y'all updated on that. But then for all of our links, you can find us on linktr.ee/jhunterrealpineapple. Thank you so much for listening, y'all. We're going to have more holiday reviews coming up, and we're going to be getting to our Oscar season bag here. I'm gonna have reviews up for stuff like Ferrari coming up. What else do I have? American Fiction coming up. Got quite a few reviews coming up for y'all, so stay tuned. Subscribe everywhere so you know when that new stuff is dropping. I'll have other holiday reviews as well for the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special, as well as Best Christmas Ever, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, along with some other stuff as we head through the end of December and into the new year. But everyone, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe out there. Take care of each other. Don't forget to get your COVID booster if you haven't yet. Don't forget to get your flu shot if you haven't yet. It's real cold out there. I want y'all to stay safe. But never forget, as always, to keep it real.